So this is eccoedo versus Dave Cordero, BizzaroDave. This is the finals of Pod 1. So we've seen both these decks, so this is going to be an interesting match, I think. I do think Caruso does have a pretty significant advantage here with the lack of strong purge out of eccoedo's deck. Though, if that purge comes out at the right time, it is certainly possible that eccoedo could pull this game off. So what eccoedo would need to do really is get those Infernuses out to take down Exhume, and then take down Eddies. So as we saw when the last time we watched Dave play Caruso, he doesn't mind being behind in the Amber count and just slowly building, as long as he can sort of take control later on. So we'll see how that goes against this deck. Seeing some Brobnar come out. Likely to try to deal with some of the Saurian that eccoedo is likely to bring out. So right here we have the before fight version. See eccoedo bring out the Infernus. He purges Shark. That's a pretty good purge there. And Overrun. Overrun does cost him an Amber. The really good outcome of that purge is of purging the shark is that's Dave's only artifact control. So if now eccoedo can use his Amphora capture to much greater effect, and it also renders Dave's ability to control the board a lot. Much, it reduces his ability to control the board. That said, Dave still does have means to control the board. But they're more destructive to him, in particular Ragnarok. It's also interesting to see the different pacing of these different games. So the last game we commented on was eccoedo versus Ewaldus, which was just a super fast-paced game. Just could not keep up with the pace of that game. Where this game is moving at a much slower pace. So eccoedo just Mark of Dist, Mog Hunter, and then used his disc creatures to fight and clean off the eddies that were on the board, which should allow him to forge this turn. So that's going to be pretty big against Dave's deck. So Dave is down still at 1 amber, no keys. eccoedo is at 3 amber and 1 key. Just take a quick moment and look at where eccoedo and we got here. So he lost to Corey Thane of SAS fame in round 1, and then won his way through the losers bracket. So eccoedo has made it back to check. So we have BizzaroDave going back to Dis. He's going to Born it, and I have to imagine he's going to purge that Amphora capture. That is so. Even though the shark's gone, the artifacts are just not there. And then I imagine we're going to see some of those exhumes, 1 or 2 of those exhumes coming out to push up that key cost. But interestingly, Dave exhumes an Igor. He must have. I mean, I imagine he has another exhume in hand right now. I mean, he's looking for something else. The way this event is structured, Dave. My understanding is even if Dave loses because he has not lost yet, he will have another opportunity to play eccoedo if necessary. So the pressure is really on eccoedo, though Dave obviously does not want to lose. It's less damaging for Dave to lose because eccoedo would be eliminated. Dave would be so this is very there we go. So he had all 3 exhumes in hand. Sort of interestingly, he played Igor to draw cards, exhumed to an Alaka, which I'm not sure. He's obviously has some plan in mind, but he did bring himself into check. He's now, but eccoedo is responding with a steal. Dave comes back with the Igor, an Eddie, and a daughter. Key cost is 11 on eccoedo. He has 9 amber, but 1 key. So eccoedo uses the cyberclone to purge that Eddie. Place out an odd claw. Back into logos with a daughter, Igor, tattoo vapors. Brings out that Eddie. Key cost is 12. So let's look at his purge pile. He's got an Eddie, Overrun, a Shark, and a Lithiol, which means he still has 4 Eddies in deck in total. So eccoedo's key cost is now 22. eccoedo's key cost is now 30 with the 3 Eddies out. So if eccoedo goes into Logos, because Dave is on an odd number, he will be able to steal. But eccoedo is going into Saurian. He's going to appear to try to raise key cost. He chose not to exalt with Faust. But he's going to City State Interest and Axiom. That is a pretty solid play there. So eccoedo is at 10, key cost is 6. Dave is at 1, and key cost is 12. Dave is going to go to Dis. Let's just review Dave's Dis options here. We've seen those exhumes. Dave has archived a lot of cards, so he is speeding through the deck, but so he plays out a Nefru to use that Buzzle to fight into Cyberclone, and then he plays Hysteria, and then he's going to Exhume, and that Exhume again is going to be more than enough to knock eccoedo off of check, because of the size of the archive. So Dave has 10 cards in archive, and with now 2 Eddies out, eccoedo's key cost is 26, 28 with the new card added, 11 cards in archive. So you can kind of see this sort of way that this deck operates, where it is almost a third of the deck is now in archive, which is allowing some speed to really kind of pick up. And this is exactly what we saw the last time we sort of commented on a game, which is that it was slow moving at first, but once it gets going, it's very difficult to stop. eccoedo has damaged one of the critical plays, which is the Neutron Shark, but without, I think, taking out those exhumes, he's still a little bit behind where he needs to be. So we'll see what happens. This is, still a great game. I still think this is anyone's game, honestly. This is not a Yeah, so Dave's actually in a relatively tricky position right here, um, because eccoedo can continue to go into Logos, continue to speed a little bit, steal with Odd Claw, keep him off of check, with the Faust. Obviously, um, instead, eccoedo goes into Dis, archives all of his logos, and uses Implosion to take down Zenzi. I anticipate that we're going to see Dave go back into Logos here. Though I could also see a display. No, we're seeing Logos. See a Tattoo Vapors. I actually thought we would have seen the reassembling automaton fight into that Faust. So I was a little surprised there. We've seen, okay, we have another purge of another Eddie. So the speed of eccoedo's deck is starting to catch up, I think, a little bit to Caruso. Where it is now down 2 of its 5 eddies. And eccoedo is up to 18 amber and has reduced its key cost to 6. So we've got reassembling automaton fighting into cyberclone. Double eddies coming out. I'm a little curious about the fight into cyberclone. I again probably would have fought into Faust with him having that upgrade. Again, cyberclone cycling back is probably one of the worst things that can happen to us, with his ability to purge our eddies. So, but the Shattered Throne and him capturing onto Automaton is also pretty good, though we're looking at key cost of 17. I mean, again, Dave maybe has a plan with Hysteria or something like that, and he's trying to bait eccoedo into exalting. I could certainly see that. That would also explain why he would have fought the Cyberclone. Is because if you're going to Hysteria, you don't want to return Cyberclone to hand. So he Bornits. I think here you probably purge spoils, or no, Master. Master is actually, it doesn't matter in this deck so much because of the way you manipulate key cost. So I would purge spoils. We'll see what Dave does. In a regular deck, in a regular game, Master of the Theory, which is highly enhanced, would be the card that you would do. So he did choose to purge Master. I mean, it's a good choice. So I'm expecting some sort of Hysteria play here to regain all this captured amber. And then exhumes. Yep, there's the Hysteria. And then exhumes to bring back eddies. So now it does make quite a bit of sense why he fought into Cyberclone, because he was preparing to eliminate, preparing to send all of these cards back to hand. The big challenge, of course, is now eccoedo is going to have all of these cards in all of these Saurian cards. But I want you to, we can now kind of pay attention to what Dave has actually done with his deck. And also, to a certain extent, what eccoedo has done to Dave's deck. Which is, Dave has a draw of 3 and a hand of 6 and 2 cards on the board. So his deck is tiny. So there's a decent enough chance that he drew back into Hysteria or will draw back into Hysteria soon enough. So even as eccoedo draws and drops things like his Faust and does all this other stuff. So Dave does forge his first key at a cost of 11. Dave might be able to just simply Hysteria again, and bring and exhume again, or just keep rolling these out. Whereas eccoedo is now somewhat stuck based on his draws, and that the so he has, no cards in archive, a much more traditional deck. So Dave's sort of leaning his deck out. He's And then, as I say that, of course, he pulls his entire archives. So, you know, but I will be the last to say anything about what he's planning on doing. There are, of course, a lot of reasons why, that as I've sort of mentioned before, the Brobnar board is definitely very playable. Appears that he may be trying to force eccoedo into a forge. I'm not sure. But it could be the case that he's trying to force eccoedo into a very costly forge. So eccoedo will be able to forge at a cost of 15, it looks like, at the end of this turn. So eccoedo Marks of Dis to force Dave to stay into Logos. It's going to play an Infernus and purge 2 of Dave's eddies, reducing Dave to a single eddy in his deck. That probably is going to be enough at the end of this. To give eccoedo the win. So Dave goes back into Logos because he has to. I think when he pulled that archive, that was not his plan. But so that Mark of Dis, I think that there have been a couple Mark of Dis's from eccoedo that have really kind of changed the shape of this game. So eccoedo goes back into Logos here. It's gonna Cyberclone. I'm imagining, yeah, Zenzi. Pulls himself to 7. I mean, obviously, I think Dave's only play here is a display. I'm assuming he has Hysteria and Exhume in hand, so he's going to have to play both of those. The trouble there is that that will result in him losing his last almost certainly will result in him losing his last he's gonna fight he's gonna kill Cyberclone before he does Hysteria to keep his last Eddie alive. It's really his only option. We're also getting pretty close to time here, which is, again, advantage eccoedo. So there's the Hysteria. There's a Rot Grub. Exhume to bring back Eddie. Key cost is now 10. Exhume for Igor. Buzzle to purge Igor and Reap. See if he purges Rotgarub too. And reaps his way to 11. He does not. So we have Blinking Eye, the head judge joining, probably because we're closing in at the end, at the end end of game. I can't imagine at this point that Dave has a response here. His hand has to be mostly Brobnar. He held an Exhume. To bring back his Eddie. But even so, Dave's problem is he's running up against the clock. And he has to not only hold off his opponent in terms of them forging, but also hold off his opponent, or he also has to generate Amber, and that's where that archive pull, when he pulled all of those cards out of archive. I'm curious what he was doing there. I'd love to talk to him afterwards and find out what the strategy was. Yeah, eccoedo has won the game.